Thank you. Okay, so I think I'll get us started. Appreciate that we're right on the starting line. So first of all, great to see everyone. And this was my first chance in meeting Mac and Natalie. So I'm sure that I reaffirmed for them that this is a community who would really be interested in what they want to say and will no doubt have lots to say along the way and participate. So thank you all for being here. A couple of things before we get started. I certainly want to acknowledge the lands that you are calling in from today. Appreciate you being here. I also want to acknowledge the fact that there's lots going on in our world today. And for that fact, I want to just respect where we are in terms of what's happening geopolitically. I also have a sense that our community is one of the key communities who can help to support people who are trying to navigate their own insights or sensations or responses to what's happening in our world. So I'm kind of thrilled being here with you all today, but I do want to acknowledge that there's lots happening and you put your time into being here. So a little bit about the association, and certainly from my perspective, I'm the area chair for APAC, for the Association for Coaching, and a member of one of the regional leadership teams. I think it's important to note that one of the parts of our key purpose when it comes to the association is about helping people to really gain mastery, build mastery, to really champion excellence in coaching across the globe. And the little bit of experience I've had with Mac and Natalie so far, I think they bring some of what is exactly what we are trying to do when it is to help you to build your professional development and bring your mastery. So I think they're a perfect example of how just one of the ways that we go about helping to serve the community and helping you to develop. So thank you very much for being here. I'm really confident that you will enjoy what you're experiencing, and I hope you'll participate. Before I hand you over, at the end of the session, we will share a few things that may be of interest to you if you are a member to help you get more of your membership. And perhaps if you're considering becoming a member, we'll share some insights about some of the things you can look for when it comes to AC membership so that we can ensure you get the greatest value out of it. So let me thank you again for being here. I really appreciate you making the time. I'm going to hand you over to my colleague, Paul Barton, who will introduce our speakers and who's been instrumental in pulling together this event for you. Thanks a lot, Paul. Handing over to you.
Thank you, Pauline, and hi to everyone wherever you are in the world. We are quite distributed, I can see that. Natalie and Mac, so let me tell you a little bit about them. So Natalie and Mac are based, respectively in Hong Kong and Thailand, and they're faculty members of Harthill's Advanced Diploma in Integrative Coaching, which is a global program for experienced coaches and leaders. Mac is an Association for Coaching Master Executive Coach and also an AC Fellow. And Natalie is an AC member and currently applying for her AC Master Coach accreditation. So they know AC pretty well. Mac and Natalie have been running their coaching practices, Coaching Collective, and Natalie's one's called Ambitious and Unconventional, for over 10 years, working with leaders, teams, and individuals globally, as well as partnering together on various projects, including co-facilitating the Advanced Diplomas Asia Pacific Residential, which this year will be in Chiang Mai in Thailand. And with that, I will hand over to Mac and Natalie.
All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody. All right. Let's see. We have some slides. My name is Mac. I'll let Nat say hello as well. And really thrilled to be here with you. I feel like this has been a long time coming. I think we started ideating this thing at like
summer last year, wasn't it? We were talking with
it's quite a long
Sarah,
time.
yeah.
So I think we're both really thrilled to be here with you and see Sarah. I see some familiar faces as well. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, welcome. It is. I'm just kind of noticing this kind of collapse of time, because we started talking about this for Sarah back in the summer, and kind of suddenly it's been in the future for such a long time, and now it's here. So welcome, and it's lovely to meet you all. And I hope this will be a just raise some questions for you and raise some curiosity. We're here, Mac and I, not as kind of teachers or even guides. We're here as peers, and just to share some of our journey and ask some questions, and share some of our experience with you. So yeah.
Beautiful. So we prepared some slides, and I think, as Nat was saying, I think, we would like this to be a dialogue, a conversation. So if you have questions, please stop us, just pop them into the chat. This is not meant to be, I was joking with Pauline, a 90-minute monologue where we're just going to talk at you. So I think none of you would enjoy that, and I don't think either of us would either. So we really wanted to make this experiential. So we're going to invite you into a breakout room. There's going to be a demo as well. So if one of you would like to be coached today, I'm just going to plant that seed. We we would like a volunteer. So you'll just have a chance to sit with me, and we'll do some coaching. Nat will do some observations about what's going on. So I'll just plant that seed in your mind, so that when we get there, we're not sitting and staring at each other. But yeah, I'm going to now use our wonderful PowerPoint. All right. So I'll just open up here. When we started thinking about this session, I think there was this question of like, well, what is it that we could share? And I think, as we all are aware, the world is growing more and more complex. I think the way that we are able to navigate that complexity, the way that we're able to sit with our clients who are navigating that complexity now grows to be an even greater skill that we need to really nurture and grow. And then I think, as we look at some of we'll talk a little bit about vertical development. Really, it's a little bit more about, will the skills actually help us to do this, or do we need to start expanding our capacity to hold the complexity and be able to see some of the complexity? And so we'll talk a little bit about the framework that we use, but this piece that we're going to be diving into today is really about self-experiencing, and really, like, how are you experiencing what's going on in that session with your clients? How are you, like, managing your own self as you're going into those sessions? And then when some of those funny moments come up, like what's going on inside of you. So let's see. So we have a little hello. Let's see. I think just a little bit about me. I am in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I split time between here and Hong Kong. So I've been in Hong Kong. I was in Hong Kong for about 10 years. I just moved here with my family. So I have two little boys. And so that has been a teacher itself, raising two kids who are 5 and 6. And so I'm learning quite a bit about managing complexity and the bigness of emotions in my everyday life. So yeah, I'm headed up to that.
Thank you. And can I just say a quick note for anyone that's recently joined, if you can just pop yourself on mute for the time being, and then we'll open up to hear some voices. So hello everyone, my name is Natalie. I am based in Hong Kong. I'm British by origin. I moved to Hong Kong nearly 14 years ago now. I've been here for 14 years. And it was part of my kind of previous life, which I used to work for BlackRock, which is a big asset management company, in people development and leadership development. So they brought me out here back in 2012 to lead some of their management and leadership programs across the region. And then I stayed doing that for about 4 years. And then I kind of had enough of being inside the system of the kind of corporate American machine, and left to start my own practice. So I've been coaching now for the last 10 years as an independent coach. And Mac and I have been working together we met in Hong Kong, and we've been working together for sort of a few years now, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot to say anything about my work. I've been coaching for about 12 years, and I have a background in technology and product marketing and stuff. But yeah, my interest is really in coaching and really looking at people and working with people and looking at why they make decisions and why they don't make decisions. And yeah, like the motivation aspects of those things. So yeah.
And I'll just say another little thing. So in a moment, we're going to do, we want to know a little bit more about you. And then we're going to do a very short kind of somatic check-in. So what part of my work, so I work with a lot of corporates and leadership development, leadership coaching. But I really, I'm a certified embodiment teacher and I teach a movement practice. And so we're not going to be doing any moving today, don't worry. But it's something that I hold within my work, this kind of complexity of, being into movement and embodiment and some kind of unconventional things and then working with corporates as well. But part of what we're going to really bring in today is our whole system, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, but also what we're experiencing in the body. So we'll do some intros in a just now, and then we'll do a short somatic practice, which I will guide you through. So yes, we'd love to know just kind of who's in the room today. So if you can, we're kind of getting a sense of where everybody is, but we'd love to know how many years have you been coaching? If you are a coach, if you're not a coach, are you leading? Are you coaching in your leadership role? And what's a question that you're arriving with today? So what is it that really kind of piqued your interest about this session? And perhaps what is a question that you are coming in with today? So we'd love to hear from you either just in the chat, or if you want to come off mute, you can do that too. What do you mean by self-experiencing? Okay, it's a great question.
It's a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Vicky.
We'll definitely get to that. Thank you, Vicky.
Hey, I'll come off mute and just introduce myself. I'm Michelle. I'm based in Hong Kong, although I'm on holiday at the minute, so excuse the holiday clothes. I wasn't planning to attend any accredited CPD sessions, but Celeste and Paul will tell you in the background I was quite persistent in trying to join this session. The title grabbed me immediately, but then when I looked at it, so I'm from the corporate industry. I'm a C-suite for a large bank in Hong Kong, but I'm also a qualified master intuitive psychology coach and a certified breathwork facilitator, because as a leader, running and leading people across large organizations and countries and things, the biggest thing I found is grounding myself in my nervous system is the best tool. So that's probably, it felt like your topic really resonated with me because it's where I see the future of leadership within the corporate industry and what the industry needs and how it needs to pivot to bring like intuitive intelligence into things, not just like, IQ.
Love that, Michelle. Thank you. And walking the talk as well. Love that. Thank you for joining us from your holiday. Yeah, bringing the humanness into coaching. And also just an invitation as we're kind of sitting with this sharing and some quiet as people are putting things into the chat. What's coming up for you as we kind of sit here and read some of these answers? Sensation-wise, thoughts, other questions. Okay, so okay, awesome. What will stay in my thoughts following this session in 5 years? Yeah, amazing. Okay. Awesome. So let's do as we kind of sit with some of these questions, let's do a check-in. So If you feel comfortable to do so, closing your eyes or bringing your eyes down to just look at your feet or the floor, and just perhaps shifting your seating position to one kind of notch that feels more comfortable. And perhaps bringing your awareness to your breath. Perhaps taking the biggest breath that you've taken so far today. And bringing your awareness to perhaps the temperature of the room that you're in. Feeling any coolness, warmth, humidity. Noticing sounds. Not trying to change anything, just noticing. And bringing your awareness to your jaw and your cheeks. Noticing any tension or any absence of tension. And bringing your awareness to your shoulders, your neck, your upper back, your chest area, your heart, your belly, and your seat, sitting on the seat that you're on. And bringing your awareness down to your feet and noting your soles of your feet on the floor and the ground beneath you. And just for a moment, bringing your memory or bringing a memory into your awareness of a time recently where you were faced or experienced some discomfort in your coaching or with a client or with a team member, or even maybe even with a friend. A time when you perhaps didn't know what to say, didn't know what to ask, faced with some complexity. What do you notice and what do you remember about that moment? What did you do? What did you feel? Was there self-judgment? Was there panic? Was there relaxation? Was there quiet? Did you jump in to solve the complexity? Do you have any memories of what you did with your body? Did you lean forward? Did you tense? Did you look away? Just bringing that memory to your mind. And we will revisit that later on in the session today. And then just letting that go for now, taking a breath back into the body, breathing down into the chest, the belly. Perhaps taking a sigh. And then moving the body. If you need to take a stretch or a kind of neck roll or a shift or anything, just to kind of shake that off and come back to the screen when you're ready. Mac.
All right. So before we jump in, I just wanted to ask and see how was that for you? And yeah, what was that like? I think we had a really nice slowing down, and then we posed this question to you. So I'm curious if anything came up for you when you're sitting with that question. Yeah, can you describe, yeah, anything you'd like to share with the group? That'd be helpful.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in, Matt.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, the example that came up for me was actually in a group setting. So in addition to sort of one-on-one coaching, I do quite a bit of work that's somewhere on the boundaries of facilitation and group coaching. And I notice myself moving into expert mode if if the coaching isn't landing as it's meant to, or it kind of comes to a hard stop and you're there in front of a group. And so you kind of feel this responsibility to the group to keep things moving. And so just noticing that where it's one-on-one, and I'd probably just create more space and sit back and explore together, that I feel more tension in those moments where there's group. And I also noticed a sense of
Well, I can't get into my email. I sent it to my
sorry,
personal.
Leanne, could you pop yourself
Yeah.
on mute? We can hear your conversation coming through if that's all right.
Okay,
Cheers, hon.
sorry.
No worries, thank you. Yeah, how I feel about the person in a one-on-one setting, I feel I have this empathy and connection with the person, and in a one-to-many setting, when they make me feel uncomfortable in front of a group, I notice that that can shift a little where it wouldn't in a one-on-one setting.
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And we hear this, when the expert emerges, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we get into, but that it's just really nice noticing that you can see that emerge. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? I think we have time for one more person if they'd like to share anything that came up for them during the check-in.
I'm happy to share, Josie.
Oh,
Hello.
yeah. Thanks.
So I work as a careers consultant for a company. I'm supporting people who are at risk of redundancy or made redundant. So when I did that exercise, I kind of reconnected with sensing the client's anxiety, frustration around the job market. What I noticed within me is there's a kind of desire to fix, but part of it is recognizing you can't change the situation that they're facing. So having to sit in the discomfort in that sense, but also to be present with the client. My role can be quite difficult because it switches between advisory and coaching. And so it's kind of balancing how can I be with the client, sit in the discomfort without the desire to kind of fix, which that's why this workshop interests me when it said, instead of using tools, how can you just kind of connect with your internal?
Thanks, Josie. That's fantastic. And yeah, and you're really calling out this fix desire, and we'll look at that too. Thank you. And actually, it's a really quite a beautiful lead into where we'll start today. And there's this beautiful quote by Bill O'Brien, who's a former CEO of an insurance company. And I'll just read it. The success of the intervention is dependent on the inner condition of the intervener. So the success of the intervention is dependent on the inner condition of the intervener. I think it really starts to speak to where Michelle jumped in, and looking at like, what is our inner condition like? And then we go out and whether we're a coach or whether we're a CEO or a manager of a team, we're making all of these interventions with people. And so part of the challenge is if we're asked to go into these high stress, fight or flight risk, like, high stress moments, how clean and clear are we inside so that we are able to sit with what's sitting in front of us? And I think one of the most beautiful quotes I've heard that's been sitting with me recently also is, in the distance between two people lies a sea of transference and projection. And so if you can start to think about like, well, what am I projecting or what am I transferring onto my client? What are they projecting or transferring back onto me? And how am I experiencing that in the moment and being able to ask some of these questions like, is this my stuff? Is this their stuff? Like how am I able to separate and be clear so that I can show up in the way that I want to and really be, there for our clients, or our team or whoever they might be, our partners, in a way that is helpful and we're able to like remain grounded in the moment, present in the moment. So yeah, maybe I'll hand over to Nat to move into the second piece of this.
Mm. Are you changing slides?
Yeah.
So the program that Mac and I co-facilitate, which is a Heart Health program, we'll talk a little bit about it later, but the core, one of the core focus areas of what we work with coaches is developing what we call the core capacities of vertical development. And I'll very, very quickly speak to what vertical development is. Some of you might be very familiar with it, some of you might not. Vertical development is really looking at how we think and growing our capacity to make meaning in more complex ways. Whereas what we might call horizontal development is how we grow our skills. And so quite a nice analogy of vertical development, horizontal development is an iPhone. So horizontal development is adding more apps to our iPhone so that we can be more productive or more efficient. And vertical development is updating our iOS system. So it's like increasing the capacity to do more, to think in different ways. So that's a very very brief summary of vertical development. But what we look at in terms of the core capacities is self-experiencing, which is this ability to notice what is going on for us in the moment. So our ability to sense our sensations, notice what our body's doing, notice thoughts, feelings, patterns in ourselves and obviously in relation to others as well. So we're going to dive into this a little bit more today. We also talk about in these core capacities, perspective adeptness. This is our ability to take on the viewpoints of not just our own, and then complexity processing. So how capable, what is our capacity for complexity and sitting with nuance and paradox and interconnected systems. So that's really what we focus on as when we look at how we develop coaches. But today we're going to be focusing on this notion of self-experiencing, which we've already started to do today, right? We're bringing it into the session as we move through this.
Yeah. And so maybe I think as we start thinking about self-experiencing, it's interesting. Part of this is the somatic. And so we start thinking about, okay, like what's going on with me? And you may do this with your clients, right? You're like, you notice like something like a face muscle moves and you're like, oh, interesting. So they must be going through something. You might feel some heat on your chest. You're like, oh, it's interesting. Like I'm experiencing sadness while this person is talking. So part of this is just being aware. And I think, if I were to ask each of you, like, do you have a mindfulness practice? Like, who has a mindfulness practice? Yeah. And so many of you do. And so if I were to say, well, what is it that you do in your mindfulness practice? Like, would you be able to give me an answer? Like, well, what is it? Like, how would you describe your mindfulness practice? And yes, like you'd be able to describe a mindfulness practice, like what goes on inside. Yeah, right. So I see some nodding, right? And so part of this is, are we able to go and feel and sense inside of ourselves? And then what are we experiencing when we're being faced with a stimulus in front of us, who are basically coming in to introduce new feelings, new emotions, new thoughts to us? And I think one of the interesting things about this and the work that we start to invite and open the door to is really this question of like, well, what are the different voices that are starting to emerge as you are sitting with your client or with your team member? And so this starts to get a little bit into IFS work by Richard Schwartz. So this is like parts work. Um, and it's interesting because I think, the more I get into the coaching space, it feels like the overlap between the therapy psychology space and the coaching space is really blurring. And I think one of the things that I've really found helpful about the AC approach to this is that there is a welcoming and really a curiosity about how we help the whole person and aren't just saying, okay, like just look at these 3 boxes and only do this type of coaching. Whereas I think I've seen many different programs which is really like inviting us into this inquiry of like what is the whole person experience like. And so what's part of this work, I think, in the self-experiencing piece is in this question we asked you, right? So like when you sit with something and you're like, I have no idea how to ask a question here, like I've never experienced this before. There are a couple of reflexes that generally pop up, and I think we saw 2 of them. We have a fix, like I just have to fix this thing because I'm not okay with the discomfort. Right? There's 2. There's the expert. I just need to know. I just need to know everything about what it is, and I'm just gonna have the answer for you. Or I'm gonna save you. And I don't know how many. Maybe this might start to feel familiar. But yeah, and there's these default reflexes, and I think what's fantastic is that in our coach training, we're taught not to like just lean into these default protective reflexes, right? We're like, okay, this is your work. I'm here over here on this side, and I'm here to guide you. And I'm going to ask you some questions, but my tendency is, my desire is not to get entangled with you. And so the challenge is that when we start to think about these default reflexes, right? If I'm thinking about my kid who has been yelling at me for the last 3 hours, and I come down and sit down to a coaching session, my ability to not just fix the problem and sort of scoot this person along becomes more difficult, because I'm like, man, I just can't deal with any more tension in my life right now. I've been yelled at for the last 3 hours. So it comes back again to number 1. Do you know what maybe your most desiring protective reflex is? Do you know what it feels like inside of you? Do you know where it sits? We'll do a little bit in the coaching demo, but we're going to get curious about like, what is that reflex? What does it look like to you? How does it feel inside of your body? So that we can become aware, and then in this liminal space between the trigger and the response, we get to make a choice, and we don't get hijacked by the default protective reflex. And so we get to say, oh, hey, I see you. I see you want to fix. Okay, I need to take a break. What do I need to ask this person that would be helpful for them? And then you can make a choice into that, rather than just being like, okay, well, let me tell you the answer to what your problem is, because I totally see what this is. And I admit sometimes I'm just like, I'm just going to solve this. I'm going to solve this problem for this person, and I'm going to do it in a coachy way where I'm going to ask them the questions to get them to the answer that I think they need to get to. So it is part of it is part of us. And I think, part of it is like, okay, well, if we had a choice, would we? And sometimes me say yes. But sometimes you're like, no, I want to do something different. Let's see. Nat, anything to add? Oh, yeah, I feel like I've been talking for quite a while.
Yeah, no, I think it's about it's interesting that many of you have got a mindfulness practice, because it's about being able to see better our reflexes, our protective reflexes, and then get curious about them. And what we want to try and do, and this is a certainly a life's work for me, but it's bringing our capacity for more, not just reflection, but also reflexivity. So noticing in the moment. So I'm like really curious, Sarah, on what you shared around what happened in that moment when you were in that front of that group, and you said something like you wanted to keep it moving. and you wanted to kind of fix. So I'm really curious, and you don't have to share now, but what was it that you did in that moment? What did you notice yourself doing? What did you ask? What didn't you ask? What were the behaviors that came up? So starting to get curious about that. Because obviously this is also contextual, right? It will come up in different scenarios depending on what part of us is needing perhaps to show that we're the expert, or that we can fix, or that we care. So,
I'm just going to talk to the last piece of this. So if any of you have done any sort of trauma-informed work, right, these aren't really bad habits. They're coping mechanisms we've learned to basically go in and like navigate the world. And I would say the polarity is the one of like, I'm in discomfort and I want to get out of this discomfort because I know how to get out of this discomfort. I can just create more certainty. And sitting in this discomfort. And I think, and knowing that, hey, this is maybe not my discomfort. So there's part of this is being able to look at it as as opposite and opposing ends of spectrums, and saying, okay, am I okay with this non-duality? Or am I okay with this duality? And then basically allowing the space to, and you being able to hold that space so that the client can come to their own answers, which I think is always, I think a better path out. So I'm going to pause. I said Matthew has a question because, and it's a really good one. I would say the overlaps. This one it's a little interesting, and I think it kind of depends on how your protector formed. So some of us, I mean, I think we learn from what we see in our environment. So if you had, I don't know, a mom who was always like solving problems, but she always also seemed to know everything as well. So you can kind of see where those voices emerge from. So like I have a fix, and then I have this like save thing that I really want to do. And it's sort of just merged together. So I think the more you can sort of create some ideas about like, hey, where'd this come from? Is this my stuff? Is this my dad's stuff? My dad's stuff is definitely no. He wants to know everything, and he has the answer for everything, and with pure certainty. And I'm like, ugh, that kind of turns me off. So I like don't like that no one. But I think part of this is getting to know yourself as well, so that you can come forward and then, make a choice. So yeah, that's a great question.
Can I just add something to that very quickly? What we're not going to touch on today, but I think your question points to, Matthew, is it's also about the meaning that you're making in that moment. So if you can go onto the Heart Hill website, and Heart Hill has a stages model of how we make meaning. And so our desire to save might be because we want to belong, and we want the other one to not feel a certain way. Our desire to fix might be to kind of move somebody to a goal, to get somewhere. And our desire to know, maybe to show our own expertise, our own sense of being the expert. So this can also come from the meaning that we're making, the kind of logic that we're looking through in that moment as well. So we're not going to go so much into that today, but it can be kind of where it formed from, but also the meaning that we're making in that moment.
Beautiful. So we've reached a point where we'd like to do a demo and just do some coaching for you. Is there anybody who would like to be coached? Be just an easy 5-minute conversation, 5 to 7 minute conversation. Bernie, you raising your hand, or is that a fly?
It was a fly, but I'm happy to do it.
Really big wave, and I was like, oh.
A little midgy.
Okay.
But yes, I am happy.
Yeah, you like to do. Okay. So maybe just for the sake of, and if you could just go off camera so that we can look at each other, and then, and I would say, yeah, as you're in this, notice what you're noticing, notice what's happening for me, notice what's happening for Bernie, and then we'll come and do a debrief afterwards. Okay.
Mac, do you want to keep the slides up, or do you want to take them down?
Yeah, I'll take the slides down. That's really helpful. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. All right. Bindi, can I ask you to go off camera also? Oh, thank you. All right, Bernie. Is it Bernie? Bernie, how do I say it? Your name?
Yes, it is. That's right.
Bernie. Okay, thanks. How are you today?
Yes, I'm good. I've had a day of trying to build a web page, so this is a nice change.
Lovely. And so I'm going to bring us back to the initial prompt where we're asking about, was there a time that you can remember where you're in a session with a client or you're in a meeting where you didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do? And maybe if you'd like, would you mind sharing a little bit about that with me? And yeah.
Yep, sure.
We'll see.
I had a client recently who shared something with me, and I was completely flummoxed. I had absolutely no idea what to say or do or ask next. It was pretty horrific. And I think my mouth actually dropped open. I think I looked a bit like an idiot. And I could feel myself wrestling with I wanted to fix, I wanted to share expert knowledge I had about psychosocial hazards in the workplace. And as I was kind of wrestling with what on earth do I say, I was feeling so uncomfortable. She actually just looked at me and nodded and said, yes, exactly, and continued to talk. It was perfect. It was really good that I didn't actually know what to do or say because it gave her space to continue talking. But I'd love to know what I could have, if that happens again, you know, what would be some of the things that I could try.
Yeah, thank you. And so I hear this discomfort. I hear this, like, I don't know what to do. I think there was even a fairly self-deprecating comment of like, I can't believe this is happening, or like, what, I'm so bad at this, I think is what I heard.
I don't know if I
And
said it, but yes, definitely it was there.
it threw up in your head, right? And I'm curious, as you were sitting there, did you know, or like, can you remember what was happening inside your body in that discomfort?
No, I can probably more remember that I moved a lot. I can't actually remember like internally, but I think I crossed my legs and uncrossed my legs and my mouth dropped open. I picked up my pen, I fiddled. Um, yeah, and I was trying to go calm. Yeah.
Right. All right. So you were able to notice yourself fidgeting, and you're even saying, hey, I could notice myself saying calm. And so if you were to step outside of yourself and like now we're just watching you, what would you tell me about how you were feeling in that moment?
Awkward. Stressed that I wasn't delivering value for the client. Yeah, worried about my own competence. God, I hope I didn't move as much as I can see myself moving in my mind's eye.
And if we then come back to the client, so what do you think she's experiencing of you then in this moment?
To make an assumption or a projection. From what she said, she seemed to feel, yeah, I'm making an assumption, but she seemed to feel seen, that it was a bit validating. She kind of nodded at me and said, exactly. And then talked more. So yeah, it was, I think affirming is the word that I'm looking for.
Yeah, and isn't that interesting where you're saying, hey, my discomfort seemed to unlock something for her. So
Yeah,
is that fair to say?
yeah, yeah. I guess, well, yes. I mean, the situation that she was describing, I think if I'd been really impassive, it would have, because it was a complicated situation. Um, and I think if I hadn't reacted like that, she might have felt like she'd been dismissed. And that's one of the things that she had been struggling with in this work situation, that her concerns were being dismissed.
Okay. And so on a scale of like 1 to 10, like how present do you think you were in that moment?
Oh, yeah, I was there. I was definitely present. Yeah,
Mm.
I'd say 10.
Mm.
9.
All right.
It's hard to say 10, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And so if you could think about it now, like, would you do anything differently?
No.
Hmm.
I worried that it was too affirming, that maybe there could have been different perspectives that could have been unlocked.
Mm.
But I was completely reacting from a woman's perspective as well. And I was right there with her. So yeah, so I think that empathy might have helped her feel affirmed and feel seen, which is great. But also, I'm not sure it helped her see it from a different perspective or to unpack it maybe a little more objectively.
And so now if we can just step back real quickly, I would say if you had to look at like the 3 protective reflexes, did you fall into that or were you able to not use those?
I think I didn't use them in the session, but after the session, I absolutely did. And I talked to her about some of the psychosocial hazard legislation because I felt that she had a responsibility to, she was also in a senior position, she had a responsibility to be aware of it. But I think I mostly resisted within the session.
Okay, thank you. I think we're at time. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm sorry to butt into the
Yeah,
conversation there. I was
I
just
think we need
conscious
to
of
watch that.
time.
You're right.
I think you started to get into your flow then, both of you. Thank you both. I know that that's not easy to do that, both as coach and coachee in front of a group of people. So it's always so valuable though, isn't it, witnessing a coaching conversation. I think, but I just have 2 questions, just to kind of very briefly debrief that. For both of you, what did you notice as you started that conversation? What did you notice in your body? What did you notice about your energy, thoughts, feelings, just anything that came up for you as you began? So both Bernie and Mac.
I think I noticed that I was probably feeling a bit awkward, and I noticed when I'm feeling like that, my hands fly a lot more. But then as the session went on, I felt that calm, and I could feel it as well in my tone of voice and my speed. Actually, it's something I have to tell you both. I'm loving, you bring a really beautiful, calm energy to this session, and I've noticed that too.
That's nice, Bernie. Thanks.
Mm.
I really
For me-
resonate with. Oh, sorry. Go on, Mac.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I resonate. I think, and for a lot of us, this when we feel uncomfortable, our system has a habit of wanting to kind of dispel that energy, and so we get quite, handy. And I wonder if that's something. It's something that I've had to work on actually to really bring more, to notice that in the moment. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. Yeah, Mac.
I definitely felt anxious, and I was like, "Oh no, there's there's a lot of energy." And then I kind of forgot what you had said, and so I was trying to do the like, "Oh, I want to like," I was like, "Yeah, you like did this thing," and so I it takes me a little bit to settle into it, and so then I was like, "Okay, like I just need to come back to myself and then sit in it and then just be with you," and I think that's where it started at least feeling a bit more easy for me. But I definitely noticed there was this like, yeah, this flutter of like, oh no, like it's happening. And part I would say for me, it's the no, like I need to be the expert. Like I'm literally on camera right now. I need to show up as like this person who's doing it right. And so then it's like, okay, it's okay. It's okay. Just talk to this woman. Talk to her like she's a human being. So yeah, that definitely flared up for me. Thank you. That was beautiful.
I have one more question, and then I'll perhaps just open it up for any comments or questions before we go into practice. What happened for you, Mac? So when Bernie kind of threw a question back at you, she said, "I'd love to know what you think or what you would do in this situation." What happened? What did you notice for you when she did that?
Did she? Did she ask that question?
I don't remember either.
I don't remember that. Oh wow. Yeah, I don't remember that.
Because I asked because it's a common thing that happens, right? When we're coaching, whether we're a coach or we're leading a team, we're trying to coach, and somebody asks us, "Well, what do you think? Well, tell me what would you do?" And I, in my experience, have always felt that tension and those kind of protective reflexes come up in those moments, and that's been a real practice ground for me to sit with that discomfort and then notice what's happening in that moment, and then be more choiceful about how I respond there. Funny that you didn't remember.
Fine, I know. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I engaged the question though.
I think
Did
you
I respond to
responded
the
with a
question?
question.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think yeah, it's interesting. Oh,
Mm.
I generally,
Um,
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Go on.
I was just gonna say it's funny because I think there's this, I think some of the default settings are like my job is not to answer questions. Um, so sometimes I'll hear them and it sort of gets pushed aside. It's like, okay, no, I need to just like stay listening to the things that she's telling me. Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you. Wow.
Mm.
Mm.
Any comments or questions from the group, just on what you noticed or what was happening, or what you noticed in you?
One of the
Vicky.
things I found quite interesting was when Bernie was talking about that she didn't know what to do, so she just sat there. And I think sometimes just to hold yourself, it's sort of, I think what it taught me is that sometimes just hold yourself, because you don't necessarily have to respond immediately. And I think what was interesting is then, in a way, that's what her client really needed. She just needed her to sit there. And I think if Bernie had gone in and tried to fix it or whatever, I think it would, number one, would have annoyed the client, and secondly, probably would have sent them on the wrong pathway. So I think that's really uncomfortable for us as coaches, because we are trained to ask questions and to move things along, but sometimes just sitting. And as you said, Mac, feeling that sense of discomfort is actually fine. We might just be uncomfortable. We just have to sit there. Yeah, so that one I find interesting.
Thanks, Vicky. Yeah, it brings up, I was like, oh, like I definitely got into this place of no. Like I was like, oh no, like I want to like bring up, like my intention was like I would like to bring up like this sitting in discomfort and this presencing piece. It was like, what was the value that you were offering to your client, and for her to sit with that in the discomfort. So yeah, I could see, I mean, even my little protective reflexes are like, okay, like how do I stay with her? Like I feel a little uncomfortable right now. And how do I allow how do I back off? And I think this is why my brain was firing so fast and just been, okay, focus on one thing, focus on one thing. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Vicky. That's right. Love that.
Can I ask Bernie a question? Also,
Of course.
because I've got a slightly different take, and I just want to check. Is it possible that the thing that was most useful for your client was your jaw dropping open, and that was super validating for her? Or I think it was a her, like
Yeah.
rather than, and then obviously the silence. But I know sometimes clients have said to me, "Oh, just your face is. I just feel your face is so validating. Thank you." But I don't know if that was the case in that moment. I'm kind of curious.
I think so. You know that little nod of recognition you get between people? There was that moment. Like you could feel that, what's it called? That kind of I can't remember, but that little, like a little strand between people that connects them. Is it emotional resonance? Is it maybe Barbara Fredrickson's resonance? I'm not sure. But yeah, there was definitely a little moment of connection there. And yeah, yeah. I don't think enough people had had their jaws drop open at the thing that she was describing, and they should have. But yes, it was definitely just an absolute reaction. There was no control there.
Yeah, and that's another awareness, a sense of self-experiencing. How do we use our body? How do we notice what our body is doing in service of the client in the moment? Do our reactions serve, or are we aware of them? Because sometimes it can be really helpful to show a physical reaction, and sometimes it's not. So I think that, yeah, it's a great question, and to really bring some noticing to that, what we're doing with our face, what we're doing with our body. Because I think the traditional kind of coaching way was like, we just ask questions and we stay very objective, and actually how do we bring our humanness into our coaching with our clients? Right, I'm conscious of time, Max. Should we get
Yes,
into some practice?
I'm going to do that right now. So we're going to put you into some breakout rooms and give you a chance to do a little coaching with this experiencing. And I think, one of the things that I hope came across is right is really just to have your client be in the moment and like notice what she's noticing in the moment, or what he's noticing in the moment, and really allow them to be in that discomfort. All right. So I'm going to, let's see. There's not quite. Okay, some people are leaving, so this is
They're like, oh, practice.
move to 7, move to 1. Okay. We'll do 21 minutes, and then we're gonna rush through the end. So maybe 5 minutes, and then a 2-minute, just quick, like, how was that? Or like, what were you experiencing? And then we'll keep going. And so we'll send a little note at the 2 minutes. So hopefully each person gets to be coach, client, and observer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're rushing it, but I hope you get to enjoy that. All right. We'll see you soon.
Do you want me to go into a room, Mac?
No, why don't you stick around? Okay. Oh, so nervous.
It was
Well
fabulous
done.
to watch. Actually, I'm sorry, I don't want you to think I'm just saying what watching your just observing how you were going about that with Bernie Mac, because in my what in my body, I'm like, ooh, the tension of she's not coming out with what we spoke, what you were demonstrating, and the way that you received it. I could feel my gut go, oh, it's okay, it's all okay in the end. Really fabulous to experience that, particularly with this cohort of coaches. A really useful thing for people, well, from my perspective anyway. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because I remember the mouth drop, and then I like couldn't remember the mouth drop when I like was talking about it. I was like, oh wow, that's big. And then she like kept going, and I'm like, oh no. And I was like trying to replay back, and I was like, oh no, my memory is doing that thing where it doesn't want to give me the details. Yeah. And so
And
and
especially this
sometimes
cohort.
part of like the coaching is letting go of the memory and then
yeah.
just being with the moment, right? And going, okay, I don't need to remember that.
Well,
It
what
as
was
I say,
really useful was that very moment where you said, actually, I don't remember her saying that. And I thought that is really useful for me. I can't speak for everyone, of course, but to go, wow, that is useful. That's human, and perhaps I'm actually present with this person in a whole other way. So that little bit, I don't remember. All the other bits are really present for, or that's how I took it. So I don't know. I was quite inspired when you said, I don't remember. That's good. That's good for me.
It reminds me of the being, but Mac, you know, that we when I think I said to you, Damien Galvin always said, you know, we're human beings, not doings. And I mean, my reflexive default comes from my consulting background, where I want to fix the problem, I want to find a solution.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then just to come back to the world of our personal world, it was a great insight to me one day when my wife Carol said to me, "I don't need you to answer the question. I don't need any answer. I've said what I've reflected on it as I said it." And so now I that's my default. I always say, "So do you need me to offer any advice?" No, most of the time it's no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But coming back to the remembering bit, I find that's true for me too. I've gone a long way away from writing notes when I coach, because I find it distracts me from being in the moment. And the problem with it is, if you don't do something about it very quickly afterwards, there are pieces you forget. So, I mean, the highlights are probably all that need to be noted anyway. I don't know what you think about that, but
I just want to remind, I think this is being recorded, so just
oh, of course, yes,
it's actually quite useful probably, but
yeah,
just so we're aware. Yeah, I think you make a really good point, Paul, as well. For a lot of coaches, we come from a corporate background or a business consulting background, and we are trained to fix, we are trained to be the expert, and so there's a lot of unlearning that we're having to do as well in coaching.
Yeah, I definitely stopped taking notes early on. I had a coach ask me, like, who are these notes for? I was like, well, for them. And they're like, why do they need to remember what you think? And I was like, I don't know. This is weird. I was like, that's a good question. Why am I remembering for them? Don't they need to remember for themselves? And I'm like, oh, I'm just not gonna take notes anymore. Yeah. It was a weird departure.
Yeah, I wonder if we might stop the recording for another few minutes. Should we do? And then start
Absolutely.
it again? I forgot, since I asked you to turn it off. Thank you.
Yes. And then we'll trim some more.
Okay.
What time is it for you guys now? 7:18.
7:18.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not late, but people will be wanting
Dinner
to eat
time.
for sure. Yeah. Having said that, I always lose track of whenever I'm in one of these webinars. It doesn't usually bother me that it hasn't finished, because I'm engaged with it. So yeah. I see the seconds counting down there, and
Oh, it's happening.
seven,
Right,
so
6 seconds to go.
Oh, have you got the clock on?
The
Yeah.
clock's on here, yeah.
Okay.
There we are.
I'm gonna bring them back.
Great.
Hello, welcome back. All right, welcome back, everybody. So we've got a couple of minutes. I hope that was interesting and useful. I think practice always is. It's how we increase our capacity. And it's great that we have these spaces to do that. So we just like to take a couple of minutes now just to hear from a couple of people. How was that? What did you notice? Yeah, anything that you'd like to share with the group?
Anyone?
I'll jump in there, that kind of process. I mean,
Sure.
we like as coaches often do, we went off into a bit of a hypothesis and discussion and philosophical kind of theory in that sort of space. So we didn't kind of get through all the activity, maybe as you said it. But however, I think what was really good for us as a team, I don't know, I was with the two Vickies, so you can sort of, thumbs up or thumbs down when I speak. But you know, what I think was kind of interesting is, how we got a good chance just to work with each other or even sort of look at experiences and dive into sort of circumstances that had come up for people in your earlier conversation and where that kind of left us kind of going, this is what was happening inside of me. We looked at the kind of the three kind of sort of dimensions there a little bit, the kind of the protective reflexes, and sort of look, how we have almost like we have ones that we favor, but do just sort of, flip into three as well, that kind of situation and where that was present in some of the sort of more difficult clients we have. Is that kind of good summary?
Yeah. Yep, that's good.
Thank you. Thank you, Shane. That's beautiful.
I like that noticing about the kind of propensity. So do you have one that you kind of go to quite often? What feels more comforting? Yeah, that's great to notice. Because that might also tell you a lot about your meaning making as well. Thanks, Shane. Who else?
And Sarah, fascinating to be in each role and observe the sense of entangling for each of us to talk it out loud. I think that's part of this practice is really doing some of this untangling and being able to really hear things more clearly in the moment. And I think that's part of the practice that, can start to emerge. And then being able to be with that discomfort. I think that's part of it. It's like, okay, like who is talking? So thank you. I like this untangling.
Yeah, can we be with the untangling rather than the moving? Sometimes we need to be with the moving, but can we be more with the untangling? Anyone else before we move on?
Quickly, I mean, we're from the same group. I thought Vicky talked about her physically how she responded, which I thought was really interesting. So she got herself into a bit of a bind, and then she unlocked it, how different her physical reaction was. And I thought that was really quite interesting. And I was just saying that if we'd had more time, I probably as a coach would have gone back and explored that connection with herself and also possibly, what she learned, because there was a pivotal moment where she asked a question and then things changed. So, because obviously we want to take that learning and move forward with it, and she's got to go back and work with the client again. So we did talk a bit about that. I thought that was really interesting. Like her whole physicality changed.
What did you notice, Vicky? What changed?
So physically, we were in a very constrained physical environment, and the coaching didn't seem to have the capacity to engage with the conversation and the questions. So it felt very tense and boxed in. And the minute that it changed, it was lighter, like it was if I'd been swimming against the tide and suddenly I was back in the flow and everything felt almost like wings on your shoulders, like lighter and flowing with the stream or with the coachee, instead of I was doing too much of the hard work, I think, trying to fill the spot. Yeah. So I'm normally a knower, but in that case I was being a fixer.
Thank you for sharing that, Vicky and Vicky. I didn't mean to cut you off then, Vicky. Vicky Browning.
I don't know, fine.
Okay, so I think just in essence of time, Mac, do we want to just say a little bit about the program and then we'll close?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to send you some slides afterwards, and there's also some work that we've included. We're going to talk through some work from Tara Brock, and so that's in the slides. But this is really about building a reflective practice, so you can take a look at that. Matt, do you want to add anything else there?
No, just I'm going to put in the chat now a link to the LDF, which is the Hart Hill Meaning Making Framework, which I've referenced, and then Tara Brach's RAIN framework, which is a really nice way of just being with what we notice. So I hope they're helpful.
So, oh, okay, I'll just jump in. So as you know, we teach a diploma, facilitated diploma. This is a AC accredited diploma, and essentially it leads you to accreditation. So it's a pathway to accreditation if you're seeking one. It's a 10-month program bookended by 2 residentials. So there's an Asia residential location, and then in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and then there's also a UK residential location. But we operate as one global cohort, so you'll get to meet people from around the world. And so there's the in-person workshops, there's some online learning, there's coaching trios, supervision groups, and then we really invite you to your own individual reflective practice. So I think what we are hoping, and if you're curious, there's just sort of if you enjoyed these types of inquiries and are curious a little bit more about like how you're showing up in your own coaching, this might be a good program. And if you're curious about learning and hearing more of our perspectives and our stances, there's a YouTube channel where Nat and I will just talk and ask questions and do some of this exploration together. I think some of you have listened. We heard that people enjoyed. So, but if you enjoy that, the QR code is there for you. Okay, I would say I have a checkout slide. Yeah, and so maybe let's see. I'm gonna, if you'd like, how about this? How are you checking out and how are you traveling now? And if you take a quick note, and just pop something into the chat if that feels right for you. And then I'm going to hand it back to Pauline, who wanted to close. But thank you all for being here with us. It was really just a joy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Many thanks to you both as everyone starts to put their thoughts into the chat as we close. It's almost never enough learning for the coaches in our community. We can never get enough of it. So it's wonderful to come to the table with you guys and hear more about what you can share with us. And interestingly and importantly, the fact that you give us an opportunity to be here with you and actually be in practice as well, because I'm sure coaches love to get together and have some dialogue and actually practice what they're learning. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. Thank you for giving us your time. And I'd encourage everyone in the room to look at all that you bring to the coaching community and see if there's an opportunity there for you to participate in the learning further. Before we close off, there's a lot that the AC already provides in addition to the kinds of experiences you've had tonight. So I'm not sure how much everyone's had a chance to explore all the opportunities. I thought I'd mention just a couple. And just in advance of this, I don't know if you're regular users of the academic journal. So I went and did some searching. If you remember, you have access to the academic journal. It's an incredible resource for you. And when you Google things like complexity, you'll get close to 200 entries of really fabulous academic work. So I'd encourage you to have a look if you haven't already. Other things that might be of interest, there is an amazing digital learning platform. I know many of you guys might be familiar with that, but the platform is growing more and more. We get the quality that comes from people like Nat and Mac bringing us their wisdom, and we incorporate that into our digital learning platform. These are just a couple of things that I think could be really useful for people who are trying to expand their practice. So if you're not making use of these sorts of things already, I would encourage you to. If you would like to know more, or you would like one of the team to reach out to you, we'd be more than happy to do so. So let us know if there's anything that you'd like to know more about. We'll make contact with you, and we really look forward to seeing you at the next event or the next opportunity we have to connect with you. And my deep thanks to both you, Nat and Mac, again for putting the time in. Really appreciate it. And let me also thank the regional team who brought this together. Thank you all for being here, and we look forward to seeing you the next time.
Thanks, Pauline.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you, everyone.
Guys, that was
Thank
great.
you.
Mhm.